Yo, what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody's doing great, man. New week, and we're kicking off back in the lab. We're talking scouting reports, DeWayne McBride, UAB product, now Minnesota Viking running back. And I mean, okay, we got mandatory mini camps kicking off this week, so we got to understand what you're going to be seeing on this field with the newcomers. Still got a ton of rookies to dissect for you, not only for your favorite team, but for your fantasy football squad, likely Dynasty, if for DeWayne McBride at least. But he's got some talent that I want to talk about because he could have a lot of boomer bust potential here. And I do like his game, but there are some inadequacies we got to discuss. So let's dive into DeWayne McBride, now Minnesota Viking. For running backs such as DeWayne McBride, we got to understand the NFL has changed its mojo when it comes to what they covet at the running back position. Either you're going to get, a multi-back system where you have complementing skill sets. One's a bully, one's kind of finesse and speed, and then, or you have a running back room that just has one dominating force. The NFL definitely has changed. There aren't many Derrick Henrys anymore coming out of college, but DeWayne McBride is an interesting character that could make waves in the NFL. Let's discuss the team that drafted him, those Minnesota Vikings. Round 7, pick number 5, where some had him pegged going, high up on day 3, round 4-ish mark. I thought that was a little high. I thought the opinion was a little bit weak in that respect. I did see him going anywhere from lower round 5 to undrafted rookie free agent, anywhere in that span. We see Minnesota takes a shot on him in round 7, pick 5, because, this also was the conversation with Dalvin Cook. We understand it recently just happened. Dalvin Cook got released from these Minnesota Vikings and is now a free agent on the open market. Why, you may ask? I'm kind of on that notion that maybe Dalvin just didn't fit into the system, and the fact that, you had a handsome salary being paid to Dalvin Cook, it was just a no-brainer for them because they do believe, especially the new head coach from this past season, he believes that he can utilize his offensive system and scheme with a different set of running backs rather than having one true 3-down running back on the field. Wants to be more versatile, wants to be more dynamic in that respect, even though Dalvin gave you everything you required in the run and the pass game. The Vikings tend to think that they could go with Alexander Mattison as the running back 1. And it's hard to argue because Mattison did show out extremely well when Dalvin did go down with injury. And, Mattison was able to support this offense when called upon. Do not sleep on a Ty Chandler either. He's got ability. So we could see legit a trio backfield this year in Minnesota if DeWayne McBride does make some waves in training camp and mandatory mini camps. He's an interesting character. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I think that his game is good, but he does remind me a little bit, of that similar skill set that we were talking about Trey Sermon. Is he Trey Sermon? No. I think he could be better than Trey Sermon in that respect, but they're very similar where they are those bruising type of running backs that aren't really relied upon in the pass game. But Ty Chandler and Alexander Mattison likely have the leg up in this battle at this point. But we could definitely see as the year goes on, DeWayne McBride steal touches in this backfield as they go with a trio backfield set where Alexander Mattison is likely going to be the number 1 guy here in Minnesota. So it is an interesting situation. But they're hedging their bets and they're trying to get as much talent at the running back position as they can now that Dalvin Cook is no longer on this club. But for statistical purposes and measurables, DeWayne McBride, he stands at 5'10", 209. He is only 21 years of age. Good stature in this man. He played 31 contests. Statistics are very good for DeWayne McBride at UAB, man. 484 attempts, 3,523 yards, a great 7.3 on the average, man. You're not beating that from a DeWayne McBride. A massive 36 touchdowns rushing on the ground for Mr. DeWayne McBride. He did not add a lot in the receiving game, man. Only 5 receptions, 29 yards, and no touchdowns for Mr. McBride, but I'm telling y'all, his running aptitude is very good, and you drafted him not to be the pass-catching back, but to be that type of bully that you're looking for. He does got some pros that we got to discuss. He's got that beefy frame, physical type of running back, and he looks on the field like he's way bigger than 209. He might have slimmed down during the testing portion of the, off-season. He looks on tape at least 215. He could even be up to that 217, 220 mark. He does look like a unit out there. No kidding about that, especially on film from this past year with UAB. He does look very good, thick, and put together physical frame. No kidding, man. Very good tape speed, even though the mark on the 40 looks like it was past, 4.52-ish mark. I mean, there was no real clock that we could see outside of, I had to do some research finding his 40 time. Very difficult to find, but 4.52 is kind of where the consensus was going on the man. He's not a slow individual whatsoever, especially at 209. 4.52 is good enough in the NFL. Is he a elite breaker? No, he's not, but the speed is definitely good enough that he could carry himself in the league for many, many years to come. He's got a good first step and good burst off the line. It's not great, but it's good, and I like it. It allows him to go inside and outside extremely well. It's not inhibiting in his game whatsoever. Very good first step off the line. You want to see that burst. It's not elite whatsoever, but it's good enough for me to put it as a pro that it is not a negative. He does have that in his game, no kidding. Solid jump cuts and great body balance. He's got some athletic ability. We've seen the spin moves. We've seen him, in the open field make sharp cuts and, at least gain more yardage, try to make an attempt to make a house call, which he has done in his time. But, I mean, when you're talking about a big man, light feet, can I say he's got the light feet? I think they're good enough. They're not where I'm going to peg them as like Ramondre Stevenson type of feet. But he's got good enough, solid jump cuts where he's going to make people miss in the open field. He has the athletic ability to do those spin moves, like I said. I do like it a lot. Very good break tackle / avoid tackle in this man. He can do it both ways. It does have that, hybrid skill set where he can actually make you miss with a couple side steps, or he's going to just lower his shoulder and bowl you over. Hence why we see a lot of, NFL scouts and coaches talk up his game a lot based on also the yardage that he was able to put up. He does have that in his repertoire. He is very good in that department. Solid leg drive and power. Like I'm saying, it's not a huge finesse. I would give him power over finesse at this point, obviously, in his game, especially based on how he runs the football, how he looks on tape. It is power over finesse, but I do like the fact that he is able to at least make people miss in the open field as well, man. He can make house calls. We have seen it. If that safety's pinching up, he's got that hole, he's bursting through, and he finds the open lane. He can definitely make the house call. Will he do it, 9 times out of 10? No, you're probably looking at 50% of the time. Everything's got to line up properly with the blockings, with the lanes, and the defenders being out of position for DeWayne McBride to make that house call, man. Massive goal line upside based on his touchdown productivity. You can see this, even though he did have a lot of long touchdown runs. I mean, goal line upside for this man is going to be key in the NFL, and what they're probably likely wanting to utilize him as is that goal line short yardage back to help pick up extra yards, and I think DeWayne McBride could fit in extremely well in that respect as well. He can definitely handle high volume. I think this is another reason why they want to let go of a Dalvin Cook as well. Why rely on just one guy for the volume when you can spread it around, keep your running backs healthy, where Dalvin Cook was showing signs of injury from time to time. Perhaps that was it as well. They saw the writing on the wall. Teams that draft their players and keep them on their roster know them best. Hence why we see this as well, that Dalvin Cook is no longer on the squad, and they want to move into a different direction. Not only cost savings and saving dollar bills, because you got to pay JJ in the upcoming couple seasons, but I think that, with the high volume that DeWayne McBride could potentially give you if an injury does transpire, you're not going to be much worse for wear the volume back like a DeWayne McBride. Outstanding college football productivity, like I said, man. 3,500 yards, 36 touchdowns plus. He is very good in this respect. Last year's statistical stat line was 233 attempts, 17-13 in yards, man. He was an absolute animal. 7.4 on the average and 19 rushing touchdowns. He absolutely found his game was in a league of his own with UAB. He looked damn good, and I understand why the Vikings wanted to take a swing on him in the 7th round. Because, 7th round running backs, very hard hill to climb to be, a true running back one in this league. But there is potential for him to carve out at least a role. but he's got some cons. We got to talk about his cons. He runs a little too tall. That upright running style, is it a con or is it just, one of those things we got to actually, just specify, because I got to put it somewhere. The reason why you say it could make, his career last not as long. Or it'll be a short career, I should say that way. I mean, taking punishment for an upright runner, knees are exposed, body's exposed, punishment will be had, especially for a running back who does like to initiate contact and is very physical. The upright running style is, it's a concern, but it's not a glaring negative. We've seen other running backs have that upright running style and still succeed in the NFL for a lot of years. So DeWayne McBride, it's just one of those things. You like the compact running style a little bit more than you like the upright running style. That's why I'm putting it down here. It's not necessarily a con, but more so of a statement over a negative, man. Ball security, when we're talking about negatives, goodness, man, this is one part of his game that he definitely has to clear up, and I think this is another reason why he fell in this draft. 11 fumbles lost in the last 2 years. This will get you on the bench riding the pine, man, if you do not clean this up. Some are suggesting as well, and I did see it sometimes, some had some communication with some other scouts, and we were talking and we're saying, the upright running style potentially leaves him open to, getting the ball swatted out. And I can see it when you start, actually looking into it. You do see it a little bit. But even if he is more compact, he does carry that ball a little loose. And you like to see him clean that up, keep it a little more tighter to his body. And then hopefully those fumbles won't happen in the NFL. You're going up against grown-ass men in the NFL. So if you're fumbling 11 times in the last 2 years in college football, this could be a major problem. Ball security is something we're definitely going to be watching and keying in on here in minicamps, mandatory minicamps, and training camp. Stop-start quickness to me is definitely in question, has limitations in the open field. It's different from when he's in the backfield taking that first step. I like the first step when he does take the handoff, but when he's in the open field, obviously he has the ability, like I said, to shake people just a little bit with some planned steps. He does have that ability, but it does taper off his speed and quickness when he does make these moves. It takes him a couple steps to start chugging down the field a little bit more. It's not a great negative, but it was something that you want to see, especially for a running back, like I said, who I believe is running more at the 215 mark rather than the 209, even though it's 5 pounds. He is a big body type of running back, and without that, stop-start quickness in the open field, it is a limitation that I don't like. He is not a true breakaway threat, wheels making house calls, even though we have seen him do it, and he can do it, like I mentioned to you in the pros. He has to have it all lined up properly for him to make the house call. Otherwise, he's going to get caught from behind. I want to say like 7 out of 10. Like, it's not great breakaway wheels. He does start to lose steam as he does get down the field, but he does have the ability, if everything's lined up, but he's not going to be counted upon as a true breakaway wheel threat. No receiving upside. Hands are suspect simply because we haven't seen near enough of it. Can he catch the ball? I think that every running back coming into the NFL at this point has some ability to catch the football. But if you don't see it, they don't utilize you in that. They obviously don't trust you in that regard. So based on how this Minnesota Vikings running back room consists of today, Ty Chandler and Alexander Mattison are much better, much more polished wide receivers coming out of the backfield than a DeWayne McBride is. So you got to believe this trend shall continue with the lack of receiving upside for DeWayne McBride. His pass pro is also below average. He's got to work on this a lot, I do believe. And I think if he does understand this, however, he may not be utilized, obviously, in that third down role with the receiving upside. So the blocking, it may not necessarily be something they're looking for in the first couple years out of Mr. DeWayne McBride. I think it's just going to be the first and second down roll, goal line roll, short down roll, back roll type of situation for this guy. Is he going to be limited to that 2-down back roll in the NFL? Highly likely at this point. Don't really see, much of the other outside that he's going to be a true 3-down running back in this league. But, I've been wrong before, but everything that the tape shows me right now, I got to believe that it's exactly how I'm saying about a Trey Sermon. We had some bullish opinions on Sermon, believing that the speed and the power and the ability and the, ability to make people miss in the open field for Trey Sermon was there. And look where his career has gone. He's already moved on to his second team, and he's struggling to find a spot to keep himself on a roster, even though the Eagles are suggesting he is making moves. Trey Sermon is. You kind of fear that this could be something for DeWayne McBride. Also, if he does not clear up everything that's negative in his game, He might find himself to a very limited role in the NFL with these Vikings, but he does have very good ability, so I don't want to cuss him out too much because I do believe there is potential for him here, especially now with Dalvin Cook no longer on this roster. But for grading purposes, you guys understand we got to put grade scores to all these rookies because there is potential here, and this is about skill set and what they were able to do. He flew up my board based on statistics, based on what he does well, but he did lose a lot of points based on receiving ability and pass pros non-ability. 67.3% is where I see DeWayne McBride right now. Still falls into that good ability category where he could find himself a role in the NFL with these Minnesota Vikings, but it does, put a staple on the fact that he's got a long road to go if he wants to carve out a role for himself in the NFL with the Minnesota Vikings. He's a good running back. He's not a great running back to me. I understand why a lot of scouts have him a lot higher than I do. I don't dislike his game. I'm rooting for him. I think he does have some talent, but he does have a long path in my respect to say that he's going to be something extremely dominant in the NFL. But there you go. That is Mr. DeWayne McBride, 7th round pick for these Minnesota Vikings. So there you have it. That is Mr. McBride, something of a tank human being. He's got some good abilities that I do think will carry him in the pros. Will it be consistent enough for him to have a clear-cut path with the Vikings? We shall see, especially here in the next couple of weeks, how he's going to perform here in mandatory minicamps. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts. Road to 1,000, baby. We are almost there. Thank you for all the support. Smash that subscribe button. Let's get over 1,000, baby. Help me out. I love this community here at Cover One. But we'll see you next time. I am out.